Hello everybody. Today I wanted to be serious and I'm not wearing one of my wood wigs. Several years ago I started my business and I called it Second Chance Antique Tools. I've restored a lot of old hand planes and other carpentry tools that have been put back to work or displayed proudly on somebody's shelf in a collection. In December 2016 I made my first YouTube video, and since then I've received several messages from veterans that are suffering from PTSD. They've told me that woodworking is like therapy for them. I thought that was pretty neat. A few days ago, a relative of a veteran with PTSD contacted me and told me that their loved one was looking for a plane. I realized at that point that there's something deeper to the meaning of the name Second Chance Antique Tools. Today I'm going to restore a Stanley number 81 cabinet scraper. I'm going to send it to a veteran. I think putting this old tool in his hands will give him and this old tool a second chance. With that in mind, I'd like to help more veterans that need a second chance, but I can't do it alone. If you or someone you know has an old plane to donate for a veteran, or you're a friend or family member of a veteran that would benefit from having a second chance plane, contact me using this email address. I think it's great that the veteran that's going to receive today's number 81 is watching this video and he's got no idea that this cabinet scraper is his. I would like all Second Chance Antique planes to be a surprise to the veteran. I'm adding a new playlist to my channel called Planes for Veterans, where I'm going to post this video and all future videos of old planes that are going to go to a veteran. I do need your help to make this work. Well, enough of the seriousness. Let's take a look at this number 81. Stanley made the number 81 cabinet scraper from 1909 to 1942. Book value is $60 to $120. The handles are 10 inches tip to tip and the cutter is 2.5 inches wide. That base is just a little bit under 3 inches square. It's made out of cast iron, nickel plated, and it's supposed to have a rosewood bottom. This one's missing the bottom. This was a favorite of cabinet makers for scraping the really fancy grain wood. It's time to break her down. And a pretty simple breakdown it was. There's the iron and the lever cap. And I also want to point out one other feature, and that's this part right here. It is not cast iron, it's a metal plate. You can see it from the top edge, it's right here, and this pin is what holds it in place, so we don't take that apart. So I'm missing the rosewood sole and the 4 screws that hold it in place. But luckily, the screws are easy to replace, and I've got a piece of rosewood I can use to make the sole. It looks like most of the nickel is still on this plane. What I'm going to do is put it into my sandblaster and very gently with low pressure clean it up. With the blasting done, I'm going to use those small wire brushes and the 4/0 steel wool to kind of clean up the nickel. These little wire brushes are perfect for getting in there and making it shine. After the wire brush comes some 4/0 steel wool. And that's got them looking a lot better. The only nickel plating loss that I see is right there on the leading edge of the lever cap. And the last thing I want to do with this nickel is buff up these flat areas here on the top of the handles and on the very front of the lever cap, because originally they were polished up. And with the nickel done, it's on to the small parts. I'm just going to clean those up on the wire wheel. And that cleaned the lever cap screw and the lever cap pin up nicely. The only thing I'm going to put the rem oil on is that lever cap pin or bolt, whatever we want to call it. And there's the rem oil. I didn't put the rem oil on the lever cap screw because I don't want it to darken. Next, I want to clean up the scraper blade. To do that, I'm going to use a sanding sponge and steel wool and see if that's good enough. First, the sanding sponge. I want to do both sides and the outside edges, and then finish it up with some 4/0 steel wool. And when it's done, I think it looks really good. This scraper iron has a marbled looking patina to it that I like. I could have used 150 grit on a sanding block and then gone back down to the sanding sponge and steel wool and probably clean it up, look like new, but I like the way it looks. But now that it's cleaned up, what we couldn't see before we can see now. It's got a really nice V logo, but it looks like that when it was stamped in so hard that it kind of cracked the back side of the iron, which is not a problem. It won't affect the use of it, but it's just too bad that that happened. I'll be using my Stanley number 810 chisel and plane iron sharpening to put a 45-degree bevel on this iron. It's a bit different than the standard plane irons that get somewhere between 25 and a 30-degree bevel. And I'm going to finish the edge with my Stanley number 176 burring tool. And after the iron was done, the only thing I had to do was make the rosewood base. I cut a piece of rosewood 3/8 of an inch thick. Then I use a pencil to trace the throat and mark the drill holes. I set my drill press at the same angle as the iron, and then I bored all the holes in a row to make the initial opening for the throat. Then I filed it out so it was flat and square, lacquered the sides and the part that goes up against the 81, and oiled and waxed the surface that contacts the wood. And now that everything's done, it's time to put her back together. Now that's the way she's supposed to look. Having that rosewood bottom sure does make a difference. The only thing I wished I had in this old girl was the proper screws. I ended up using Phillips because I don't have any straight slots. But she still is a fine looking old scraper. And now it's time to give her a test drive so we can see what she can do. For this test drive, I'm using a 12-inch wide piece of poplar. This isn't the same as using a bench plane. You don't see massive amounts of shaving rolling out. But I tell you what, the difference is immediate. I can see the shine forming out of the wood. After a couple fine-tuning adjustments, I got the scraper doing a really nice job. Looks like this old girl passes the test. So the old 81 produced scrapings that range from dust to those shavings that you see right here. She's going to be a fine addition to a veteran's workshop. So the old 81 is done. The new year's off to a good start. Can't do any more now though because it's time for supper. Bye.